Hello, I'm Tom Turner. This account of the Reverend Claudius Buchanan's visit to Goa is from the Claudians. It's a fictionalised biography of Buchanan and of his cousin, John Claudius Loudon, who was the most famous garden writer of the 19th century and the grandpa of the landscape architecture profession. The cousins were born in Cambuslang, a small village in the west of Scotland. Their public spiritedness came from the Protestant background they shared with the Pilgrim Fathers. Buchanan's life illuminates Loudon's life, and vice versa. Protestant social concerns were central to missionary activity and to the development of landscape architecture. My account of Buchanan's visit to Goa is closely based on his journal and phrased as a letter written in June 1806 to his friend, the Reverend John Newton, who wrote the hymn Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
My dear Newton, I have reached Goa. After a long journey, it has been enjoyable to visit the Christian churches in the southwest of India. They were built after the Portuguese conquest of Goa in 1510, and their form is not unlike old parish churches in England. The style is of Saracenic origin, with sloping roofs, pointed arch windows, and buttresses supporting the walls. The bells of the churches were cast in Indian foundries. Some are of large dimensions and have inscriptions in Syriac. It is surprising that 2 centuries elapsed without any information reaching England about India's Syrian Christians. Desiring to visit Goa in 1805, I presented a short memoir to Marquis Wellesley, who was then the Governor-General of India. He gave orders that every facility should be afforded to me to investigate the literature and history of the churches and their collections of biblical manuscripts. I ascertained that there are upwards of 200,000 Christians in the south of India, besides the Syrians, who speak the Malabar language. In Goa, a bishop agreed that a union with the English Church would be a happy event and favourable to the advancement of religion in India. The manuscripts which I am collecting will be presented to the University of Cambridge. I also investigated the Inquisition in Goa. It is regrettable that in this matter the British government has no authority over the Portuguese government or the Roman Catholic Church. One of the books I carried with me was Charles Dellan's account of the Inquisition of Goa. It relates his own sufferings from the Inquisition. Dellan wrote that during the months of November and December, I heard every morning the cries of those to whom the torture was administered. It was inflicted severely. I have seen many persons of both sexes who have been crippled by it. One of them was a companion in my prison cell who had suffered the queen of tortures. By means of 4 cords, drawn over pulleys at each corner of a lofty room and attached to his hands and feet, he was pulled to the ceiling face down. Then he was dropped with sudden jerks to within a few inches of the ground. After thrice repeating this process and dislocating his bones, he was left to hang for 1 hour or until he confessed. Every individual is treated with equal severity. No distinctions of rank, age, or sex are attended to. All are tortured alike in perfect nudity. I showed Dellan's book to the Grand Inquisitor. In a slow, articulate voice, he admitted that Dellan's descriptions of the dungeons, the tortures, the mode of trial, and the burnings were accurate. Mr. Dellon reports having been confined in a dungeon 10 feet square, where he remained for 2 years in enforced silence and without seeing any person except the jailer who brought him his victuals. Daily he expected to be taken to the stake for burning. Every morning he heard the shrieks of the unfortunate victims who were undergoing the question. This term was the Inquisitors' euphemism for the tortures they used to extract confessions. At his trial, Mr. Dellon was happy to be sent to the Portuguese galleys for 5 years, instead of being burned for heresy. After breakfast one day, my host, dressed in his inquisitorial robes, took me to see the Inquisition. Saying that he hoped I should be satisfied with the transient view, he led me first to the great hall of the Inquisition. His attendants, called the familiars, bowed very low to the Inquisitor and looked with surprise at me. The great hall is the place in which the prisoners are marshalled for the procession to the auto da fe. This is the term for the act of faith in which they are burned alive. "Now, Father," I said to my host, "lead me to the dungeons below. I want to see the captives." "No," said he, "that cannot be." "Lead me down," said I, "to the inner building, and let me pass through the 200 dungeons, 10 feet square, described by your former captives. Let me count the number of your present captives and converse with them. I want to see if there are any subjects of the British government to whom we owe protection. I want to ask how long they have been here, how long it is since they beheld the light of the sun, and whether they ever expect to see it again. Show me the chamber of torture. Declare what modes of execution are now practised within the walls of the Inquisition in lieu of the public auto da fe. If, after all that has passed, Father, you resist my reasonable request, I shall be justified in reporting to my government that you are afraid of exposing to public knowledge the real state of the Inquisition in India." To these observations the Inquisitor made no reply. He seemed impatient that I should withdraw. "My good father," said I am about to take my leave of you and to thank you for your hospitable attentions." When the Inquisitor refused to answer any further questions, I retired hastily towards the door. We shook hands with as much cordiality as we could at that moment assume. Both of us, I believe, were sorry that our parting took place with a clouded countenance. From the Inquisition, I went to the place of burning in the Campo Santo Lazzaro by the riverside. This is where victims are tied to stakes for the auto da fe. It is close to the palace, so that the Portuguese viceroy and his court may witness the executions. It has ever been the policy of the Inquisition to make these spiritual executions appear to be state executions. An old Augustinian monk accompanied me. He wore open sandals and was bareheaded. Gentle and compassionate, he showed me around the burning place. "As a youth," he said, "I was an enthusiast for the Inquisition. After witnessing so many horrors, my mind has changed. If the British could stop the torture and burning, it would be a mercy." With complete humility, the old monk crossed himself and began to pray, seeking strength and guidance. "God willing, I will assist you," I said. As we walked this melancholy plain, I thought about the sad corruption of the pure and benign doctrines which Christians had preached to India in the apostolic age. It had descended into a bloody code, which, after many long nights of darkness, was also announced in the name of Christ. I pondered on the mysterious dispensation which had permitted the ministers of the Inquisition, with their cruel racks and hellish flames, to visit these lands as heralds of the gospel of peace. Man's inhumanity is illuminated but not softened by Goa's luxuriance. There are dense forests with mahogany and other tall trees. Frangipani and hibiscus are everywhere. Goa seems the work of a perfumer. Golden sands are kissed by the turquoise waters of the Arabian Sea. Palm trees sway gently in the soft breeze. Charming villages nestle amidst lush greenery with whitewashed houses and tiled roofs. Yet their horror is always close. Your affectionate son, C. Buchanan. Claudius' strongest and most painful reflection was that the Inquisition tribunal could still exist, unawed by the vicinity of British humanity and British dominion. Remembering the old monk, he reflected that, like all men's things, colonies are both good and evil. In equal measure, the Lord of hosts wishes us to think, wishes us to pray, and wishes us to act.